Hello, this is Michael once again for Wrestling Pops, the Deep Culture Podcast. And man, what a past weekend in wrestling. It's a good time. I gotta say, WrestleMania lived up to the hype for me. Out exceeded my expectations. And today I thought this would be a good thing to talk about and to kind of get back to the roots, things that make me like it just interesting, funny, enjoy about wrestling. Uh, and there are many other ways I thought about going, but it was just too perfect this week. The timing, I know I'm giving into the moment, but this episode I have dubbed the Mustached Nightmare. And to start the episode, I want to go through the chain of events that was a little over 24 hours in WWE over this past weekend. And it was, what a time, you know? And I want to start by saying, like, night one of WrestleMania was so good. It was so good. I mean, there were so many matches that I could get into that pretty much all of them. I don't think I was disappointed with. I liked every single match. I liked every single moment. There were a few things that were a little wonky. I mean, you could kind of go through and be like, well, why isn't Bobby Lashley wrestling? What about LA Knight? Why did Pat McAfee show up? But even that, I think that's nitpicky. And I thought night one of WrestleMania, if you look at all of like the critics, the smart fans online, I don't know if anyone really had a problem with night one of WrestleMania. I thought it was really good. One of the best WrestleManias, really. If you just counted that show, just night one, I would say, man, that WrestleMania was absolutely amazing. Then you get into night two, and this is where this episode begins, and it's so funny. It's so funny because on that Sunday, and we've been hearing it for a while. We've been hearing about, man, a sale of WWE is about to go down. And I don't think that we really could have predicted how this next, like, again, a little over 24 hours would go for WWE. It's just so bizarre, so perfect, and fitting to kind of just sum up what a lot of people have complained about over the past few years. But this episode, the Mustache Nightmare, it all starts, I think you have to start it when things started going off the rails. Night two, just kind of, again, night one was so good. And night two, starting off, you have Brock and Omos. Okay, Brock, Lesnar, Omos. Quick match, got it out of the way. The women's showcase, okay. I've seen some people complain about that. I'm not going to. Because first of all, I was distracted at that moment in time. I stepped out of the room for that moment, so I can't give it a fair assessment, and I'm not going to complain or criticize about it because I didn't see it because something came up. But anyway, then the triple threat, Gunther, Sheamus, McIntyre, by far, one of the best WrestleMania matches I've seen in my lifetime. Such a good match, lived up to the billing. Was very good. Cannot speak enough about that. But then this is where things start to get off the rails, and again, this is where the story starts. The Miz and Snoop are in the ring, and again, they're playing up the fact that, oh, Miz, you got beat, got to have a match, all this stuff. And again, there were a lot of people. It's like, well, Bobby Lashley, LA Knight, why don't you have him come out? Well, here comes like the first surprise of the night, and it's Shane McMahon. Shane O'Mac comes out. Which is really cool. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to see Shane. He is a legend. Um, that was cool. But again, this is kind of just it set the tone for everything to happen after this. And Shane he starts beating up on the Miz. The impromptu match starts, and right off the bat, again, I had to let my dog outside. I come back and Snoop, after Shane is beating up on the Miz. When I come back from letting my dog outside, all of a sudden Snoop is dropping an elbow on the Miz. I'm like, okay, well, was it a handicap match? Like, what happened here? again, a sign of things to come for the next future events. Shane O'Mac just pulling a Vinnie Mac and just hurting the leg, doing the leapfrog, boom, leg goes out. I think they said it was a quad, which again, living up to the family injury, but how unfortunate too. That who knows? That might be his last like wrestling appearance, and that's how he goes out. I hope not for Shane O'Mac, but at the same time, that's tough. Total Pro by Snoop stepping in, dropping the elbow though. I wish, he's been in the ring a few times at this point. I wish that someone would teach him kind of like how to hit the ropes a little bit. Then again, it's Snoop; he can do whatever he wants. But Snoop, he's awesome. That was that was a good save, but again, a little bit of bad luck there. After that, the Balor Edge match, the Hell in the Cell. Again, a little bit of bad luck. The ladder hitting Balor in the head, knocking him open, having to stop. I always think that's weird when you have to stop a Hell in a Cell match. I think that just, it's like, this is supposed to be dangerous. Having said that, seeing the gash that he got on his head, probably a good thing they stopped it. Probably should have. But again, more bad luck right after the Shane O'Mac injury. More bad luck. Kind of fragmented that match. It was a little slow. And then here's where we get into, again, more of the weird stuff. And I'm looking on Twitter. I'm kind of seeing some things that are going down. People, this is where like the sale talk, really I started to notice it on Twitter throughout the day. There was a lot of commercials and breaks between the main event. But the first, after some bad luck, I would say those two things were bad luck. This is a decision, though. This was a decision that was made. We get to the main event. Huge reaction for both guys, Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. And they are really laying it on thick with, man, this is Cody's moment. Family, the little Brody thing, that's cool. That's super awesome to see. And then Roman comes out. Same thing, huge pop. It's like, man, this is, again, we're about to see something special here. And we get into the match. The match was great. Great. I've seen great things about people talking about the match. There's a lot of interference. It really played up that Cody was a threat. Made him look good throughout the match. Reigns looked legitimately like, oh crap, I might lose. And we get into the decision. Roman Reigns, with the help of some interference, he wins ultimately. And listen, I don't care so much. I don't care either way. Like it doesn't affect my life. So if Cody would have won, it just, I feel like this was a perfect moment to give it to him. It made too much sense. They were laying it on so thick. Having said that, I'm glad that, in a sense, that we didn't get that, because it just means that, like, hey, anything could happen. So should Cody have won? That's going to be a decision that people contemplate throughout, I think, time. We might look back and it might, his victory in the future might be even bigger because of this moment, or we might look back and be like, wow, WWE, what were we thinking there? Kind of missed a moment with him. I don't think this story is done, but again, it leads into my story that I just think is so interesting. And this is the first questionable decision. A lot of people were like, what? Like, why did Cody Rhodes lose? Again, I didn't think so, but the next few hours, the next day, it just seems pretty interesting. So Cody Rhodes, he loses, and again, you have a lot of people online going crazy. Man, how could they have him lose? It's too perfect. How many more days of Roman Reigns? Which is funny because a month ago people were throwing up the one for Roman Reigns, and now they're like, I don't want to see it. Anyway, so the next day, again, checking the notifications. After some bad luck of night 2, night 1, I think was regarded as one of the best parts of WrestleMania. Night 2, yikes. Again, some bad luck. There were 2 really good matches, the triple threat and then the main event. But that questionable decision to have Reigns win, again, I'm not in charge. They are. They know more than we do. But we wake up the next day, and all of a sudden, WWE has been sold to the Endeavor corporation company. Either way, it doesn't matter. They've been sold to Endeavor. And this is extremely notable because Endeavor also owning UFC. UFC, WWE kind of had it's always seemed like they had a relationship, especially with like Brock and Ronda coming in. But Endeavor owning UFC and controlling a majority stake in WWE, they now it essentially seems like they're under the same umbrella, but uh, what connection are we gonna have? And this is where the humor rolls in. Actually, let me get into the stats here. So I'm seeing as I've read, Vince sells WWE to merge with UFC to form a new company controlled by the Endeavor Group. Endeavor owns a 51% stake in this new entertainment company, while WWE shareholders will have the remaining 49. So those shareholders still having a term there, not completely ousted. They're still having a say in the company, and I'll come back to that in a second. But they do not have the majority stake in it. WWE valued at $9.3 billion. UFC $12.1 billion. I don't know if I'm surprised by that. UFC has the pay-per-view buy rate. I don't know what the deals are with NBC and WWE though. I kind of thought that would be a little bit more. I don't know if WWE is a little more global than UFC, but either way, a lot of money for both companies. A lot of money. And what's funny is, as we get into that, for months and months and months, ever since the allegations and the hush money stuff, Vince McMahon was out of the way. Vince McMahon was out of the way. And this is a lot of complaints by a lot of people. His booking decisions, not great recently, not great. And then Triple H seemingly is taking over. And then also you got to keep in mind, Stephanie was the interim CEO. Yeah, she was whatever the chairman. I don't know the exact position, but Stephanie was in charge. And then all of a sudden, these allegations, the investigation into Vince is kind of just gone. And oh wait, Stephanie is gone, and now Vince is back with the company. Huh? What happened there? Incredibly sensitive material that's regarding to and it's questionable to bring him back in the first place. However, it was his company, so it was really hard to do anything about it. And Vince seemingly worked his way back into the company. But now with the sale, excuse me, of WWE, it's so funny because Vince, who has not been seen in a while, before the Hall of Fame, if you saw the picture, and only a few people probably saw the picture, you got to think of like the masses, the casual viewer. Hadn't seen Vince in a while, and all of a sudden he comes back with this like mustache. What is that about? He's coming back with his mustache. He looks like a stereotypical cartoon villain. Like, I don't know how to describe this look. Newly dyed hair too. There's no way. Like, his hair is just jet black, seemingly. This mustache. He looks like a mob boss, like straight up. Like he was just like, hey, I'm going for that stereotypical mob boss look. I saw like the comparisons to the Addams Family too. I forget his name. The guy in the Addams Family. What's his name? The dad. But the comparisons to that with the mustache, he should just wear a pinstripe suit too as well. Like he is so hilarious. And now, the American Nightmare loses. He loses at WrestleMania. Now you have this the former owner of WWE coming in, selling his company, and he comes back looking with this mustache, which is like extremely terrifying to begin with. Like he just looks so goofy that I'm almost scared. Like, he just looks so funny. I love it. But what is going on? What is going on? So then after that, it comes out that there's going to be a restructure. So even though Vince has sold the company, he is now the chief executive officer of Endeavor. So this merger. So Vince is not going away. Vince is back. He just doesn't. He's not the sole owner anymore. He still has his power in this company. He is not gone. He just, again, not the majority stakeholder. And there was reassurance throughout all this. Hey, Triple H is going to be the main booker going forward. He's going to be head of creative. He's going to, and Vince even said, "Yeah, I'll be in the big picture stuff, but I won't be in the weeds." The quote he had, and people were like, "What does that mean?" He wouldn't be in the weeds anymore. But a lot of people were even questioning that, and it was also announced during this time after the sale that the sale had nothing to do with Roman Reigns holding on to the belt, which I believe that. I think legitimately you have to look at Cody, like Cody, the decision. Maybe there was a thought, hey, let's have him win later. It's too soon. He hasn't been here long enough since coming back. He has because the injury. There might have been some thought, well, he's the AEW guy, so we can't have him beat Roman Reigns. Like, he wasn't the world champion over there, which was a design of Cody's choosing, but can't have him beat the guy who's had the belt for 3 years. Whatever it may be, there were a lot of questions. Is Triple H going to remain the booker? Because a lot of people were worried, hey, we're going to go back to Vince as the guy in charge, and rightfully so. I will say the last few years of WWE, until really this past year and a half, where Triple H seemingly had more control, I will say that was some of the most boring wrestling events ever. From I would argue, really the past 10 years, I can't think of a time where consistently for a year WWE was interesting, because there was always a lot of questionable decisions, and a lot of people pointed to Vince McMahon for that. Now, I'm not saying he's the sole person, but here we go. We get into Monday Night Raw. It's been, at this point, it's been close to a full day, and WWE has a lot of people that Raw after WrestleMania, people are tuning in to see, well, what happened at WrestleMania if they didn't watch, but also what's going to happen tonight, because the Raw after WrestleMania is such a big deal. And here's a side note here, I wish WWE would stop playing that up, because ever since WWE started playing up the Raw after WrestleMania, what are they going to do? It's always been terrible. It's never ever been good since they've been doing that. They've been doing that for 4 or 5 years now, and the last 4 or 5 Raws after Mania have been not good. I've not enjoyed any of them. And this one is no different. And again, you got to think night one, high marks, a lot of, not just the casual, but even the smart wrestling fans. Night two, again, a little bit of bad luck, but that decision at the end with Cody losing was a little questionable. Again, not by me, but by someone. And now it's announced after the sale of WWE, people have even more interest to tune in, because, oh my gosh, what's Raw going to be like? What's WWE going to be like now? Is there going to be a noticeable change right off the bat? So it was announced during the day Triple H would kick off with a huge announcement. And he comes out and he basically says, the stuff we're not going to, that we're doing, it's not going to change. We have the same crew, we have the same people, all this stuff. He shouts out Stu, the cameraman. But basically the sentiment is hey, I'm here. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Nothing's changing. And a lot of people took that as oh, well, okay, maybe Vince is gone. Doesn't stop there, though, because immediately here comes Roman Reigns, Solo, and Heyman. They come out. They're getting a mixed reaction there. Eventually, Cody comes out. Boom. Hey, I want a rematch. Heyman, Roman say no. Okay, what about a tag match? What about tag match? And then Cody's like, okay, that's fine. Tag match. Need a partner. Heyman gives him a stipulation. Guy has to wrestle. Yeah. Anyway, you guys know all this. And Brock Lesnar comes out. Now, this is a moment where at first I was like, this is pretty cool. Cody and Brock versus Roman and Solo. That is pretty cool. It's a unique tag team in the sense of Brock and Cody. Obviously the history with Brock and Roman. It was a cool scene. And really, that was the end of the highlights for Raw. For Raw, it went all downhill after that. So I'm reading through the results here, Omos and Elias. Cool, sweet. Like, what are we doing? Some replays, hype ups, all that stuff. Um, Bad Bunny, that was also maybe a highlight, only because he got destroyed on the Spanish announce. Was it the Spanish announce table? He got destroyed on the announce table. That chokeslam was brutal by Damian Priest. Um, it was really cool too as well that it was Priest who did it. So with the history there, back to their match. Um, Austin Theory beating Rey Mysterio in the midst of all that as well. Cool. I didn't need that match, but I'm not a big Theory guy. But then again, not everybody likes the same people. So Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, they're beating the Street Profits in a title match right off the bat. That's cool. I could do with that. But ultimately after that, Ali Lashley, where's that going? Really nowhere. The women's tag match, which just also got low marks for people because it was reported that Bayley, they didn't have anything for her. Like, how do you not have anything for Bayley? Especially with their group is not there. That's a questionable thing. A lot of people are wondering what's going on there. Um, that's it. I mean, I'm looking at a lot of like promo stuff, still stuff, going back talking about Mania. The Raw after Riddle comes back. I forgot to mention Riddle comes back in the midst of this. That was the one return, and even a good reaction from the crowd, I will say. But okay, like we kind of knew Riddle was coming. But I don't know. Like, I don't want to hate on that either. But really, you think the Raw after Mania, you think like a lot of excitement. And where WrestleMania was such a high for WWE, now we get back to reality. We get to this tag match, and everybody's worst fears for Cody come true. In the tag match, right off the bat, Lesnar just like destroys Cody and just continues to do so, and really tearing him down. So the Cody Rhodes fans, had a tough weekend with the loss, but then the next night, Lesnar. And you could look at this a few ways. I think a lot of people would like to look at this as like positively, comparing it to like the Cena. He loses the Rock. The next night, Lesnar comes out, destroys Cena. Got to build Cena back up before we. Okay, a lot of people are making that comparison. Maybe that's the route they go. I don't know. But that's the positive way of thinking. And then you have the negative way of thinking. It's like, hey, Vince is back, and Vince doesn't like that this guy went and was successful on his own, so we got to teach him a lesson a little bit, which seems really weird. I don't know if that would be the case because ultimately Vince was still in charge when Cody came back to WWE in the first place. So it's really funny to me the worry that people have over Vince being there, and I think it's rightfully so because this Raw, as I was reading about it, this Raw, one of the worst, like, again, probably a smart fan vote, but one of the worst rated Raws of like all time. Terrible, and you could say, well, Michael, the ratings were pretty high after. Well, yeah, because people were excited after WrestleMania. They're gonna tune in. But the loss of fans over time just showed you how, like, they didn't capitalize on all the great things of WrestleMania. It was just like, what? Like, this is it? Like, we just watched this last night. This was so good last night, the night before last. And now we get to Raw. Yeah, we can't expect WrestleMania every week. But, like, what are we doing here? And again, the mustache nightmare. I just think back to Vince McMahon with that mustache, just weaseling his way back into his own company, which again, it's his company. But after everything that's went down, how old he is, his son-in-law is the guy. Like, how do you just go away? Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, just go retire somewhere. You can still be involved somehow, but you really need to book everything because it's basically ruining the thought and the love for your company. Like, a lot of people just, again, I was stoked for WrestleMania. I loved WrestleMania. WrestleMania was great. And then Raw came around, and it was terrible. It was bad. It was not good. I was not a fan. And they can say, well, Vince didn't play a big part of it. He played a big part of it. Like, that Monday Night Raw with the heavy rewrites, it was not good. It was not good. And I don't believe everything I read when it comes to like the morale stuff because I'm not there, and that's just one person saying it, and one person saying it can make people think that's the majority. However, I didn't see a lot of that morale stuff coming about before Vince. Vince was out of the pic. When he was out of the picture, I didn't see that talk as much. People were excited and stoked on going to WWE, and now, or watching WWE, excuse me, and now, I don't know. We'll see where we go from here. Like again, a mustache nightmare. What are we doing, WWE? Like you had an awesome WrestleMania, and you just like you just did. And Vince, man, just go home. Just go home. What are you doing, dude? So Vince with the mustache and the dyed black hair. He's gonna be running Raw seemingly every single week, and that's just the way it is. So that is the main story for today. I do want to take the rest of the time here, the last few minutes I have, talking about my favorite parts of WrestleMania, just specifically WWE. With WrestleMania being this past week, favorite parts obviously I mentioned already Gunther, Sheamus, McIntyre. That match, I cannot. Three big guys that hit hard, smacking each other around. Big E, I saw him tweet something. That's his type of match, man. Great match. And it was really cool to see Sheamus getting the reaction he's getting. Guy who has worked as a heel most of the time, getting some love. It was a really good match. Other matches, I thought Logan Paul and Seth. I'm not a huge Logan Paul guy. Don't like him really that much, but it was a good match. It did what it was supposed to do. Seth, he's one of the best. A great match. The tag match, the main event on night one, the Usos, Zayn and Owens, same thing. Guys are amazing. The Usos, one of the best tag teams. They killed it. Zayn and Owens getting their flowers. Pretty cool run for Owens, main eventing 2 night ones. A WrestleMania in a row, where he was previously being pushed down the card by again the mustache wonder, the nightmare, and that was a great match. I can't say enough about that one. Speaking of another match that people thought, hey, maybe this should be it. The main event of night one, the Rhea Ripley Charlotte match was very hard hitting. I think they intentionally were trying to go out there and steal the show. I think they had something to prove. I'm a fan of both, and it was just very, very, very well done. Again, night one, there's really no misses for me. I could list every single match, even Cena Theory. People were upset Cena lost, whatever. That was a good one. The tag team showcase for the men, amazing, great match. Especially when it was just 4 guys going out there, they got the tag title shot because of that victory. The Street Profits, and the other teams in there, they were awesome as well. McAfee, he's electric. Love the guy. Again, those are my pros from night one. Night two, again, best matches probably, like I mentioned, the Intercontinental, but the Roman Cody match, again, whatever you think about the outcome, so be it. But it was a great match. Ultimately, I could have gone either way with the decision. Roman Reigns is on a run of a lifetime, so why not keep it going? They've been clamoring to get this guy over for years. Like WWE, they've been trying so hard. Now he is finally over, and they're running with it. And they're really building up to hey, we really want to see this guy lose. And he's killing it. So could have gone either way on that. But I thought that was a great match. The only downside, again, of WrestleMania. Some of the bad luck on night 2, and you can't control that. It's not their fault. The Shane injury, which is unfortunate. The Balor injury, which Balor's entrance was really cool. I saw someone comment, it's like, what's the difference between Edge and Brood Edge? And they're like, well, you just got to put the name on the Titantron. Which I thought that was goofy too. They didn't have the Brood music. They didn't have like the other guys in the Brood around him, which I know that'd be difficult. They just had I think they said it was a Slayer song, and he just came out like he just came out of the Ring of Fire and Brood Edge, like that. There you go. So, kind of goofy, but again, if that's the low part, that's the low part. Like it was just bad luck for some of those matches on night 2. But WrestleMania was a blast, and we'll see what WWE's like going forward. I hope the best. I really enjoyed getting back in, watching WWE, and seeing some of those guys like Seth and Roman, the Street Profits, the women. It was fun to see them do so well, because you know how good they are. But it's so funny because that guy with the mustache just will not go away. So, speaking of going away, this is me going away. Hey, I am done for today. Please be sure to check out any past Wrestling Pops episode, and any episode of the Deep Culture podcast, not just this podcast that you're listening to or watching, but the Deep Culture podcast with my buds, Tanner and Danny, on this YouTube channel or on Spotify at the Deep Culture Podcast. Check out all the socials, Deep Culture Podcast, everywhere except for Twitter, which is Deep Culture Pod. Make sure to follow, subscribe, like if you like what you see, like what you hear, and let me know in the comments what you think of this episode. So that's all I have for this episode of Wrestling Pops. I will see you guys next time. See you guys.